Hello fellow anime enjoyers! I've already done an isekai bingo, a romance bingo, and a fantasy bingo, so I guess it's time for a little twist. Until now, all the bingos were made with trashy animes, but now I will try getting a bingo with a good isekai. You already know how it works. We have the same bingo card but with some small changes, and we have to mark an entire row, column or diagonal. This way we'll see how long it takes for a good isekai to fall into the same tropes as the trashy ones. Let's try reaching 2000 likes with this one. Hope you enjoy it. As always, I've asked you for animes, you gave me names, and the spinny wheel will decide our fates. I did have to skip a lot of your suggestions because I didn't want to include animes I've already watched more than one episode, animes that aren't proper isekais, or even some that clearly didn't even seem to be good. Also, if we reach episode 4 and there is no signs of getting a bingo, I'll start the next anime. Anyways, and the chosen anime is... Campfire Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skill. I hope this is actually good and not just some random slop. While we can't get the crowded cover space with any of the key visuals, the title is long enough to grant us the first space marked. Let's get right into it though. This will contain spoilers, obviously. It all starts like your regular isekai with some randoms being summoned to another world to be heroes, one of those being our protagonist, Mukoda. Unfortunately, as the title suggests, his only power is to buy online groceries, so he decides to leave and search for a slow life. He has the power of Amazon. That joke was so overused, I'm sorry. I should do better. 3 minutes and 46 seconds in, and we're gifted with another space, when he opens this stat screen like a video game. Well, that's game mechanics. Whoop. Here it is. And I also took the opportunity to mark the medieval setting that was clear from the beginning and the quiet life that he decided to live by ditching the main hero's party. And to finish the combo, I carefully analyzed the main character's design and immediately realized that he has the classic short black hair, boring face, and nothing else that stands out. Which automatically means he's another self-insert Kirito clone. Not even in an allegedly good isekai, we can get rid of basic ass protagonists. For only 5 minutes, that was a pretty good start. And so he sets on his journey to commit legal immigration and wait, hold up. Are you telling me he actually has great abilities that are extremely rare and he's gonna hide it from people? Well, say no more. Another one down. And if I wasn't really stupid, I would have remembered to include Adventurers Guild as a space this time, which would have given me an even better starting line, but I guess I have to live with it. Then he found a party to take him to the other country and past the borders, so we got to one of my favorite parts of the episode, where he just makes tons of dishes and meals for everyone to eat, and seeing their reactions was really wholesome and cool. This is like nerfed Dungeon Meshi. That guy even looks like the... I forgot his name. Nothing much happened from here till the end of the episode. The bingo card stayed the same, just Mukoda being forced to take this small doggy as his pet. Nothing much. And here we go again. I'm so excited that I even wrote a song about it. We won't get no bingo, this video was a mistake. An entire second episode and not a single space. Just kill me. Yeah, this episode was pretty normal. He just made more food, reached the other country, registered himself in the guild, yada yada. In conclusion, we didn't get a single space marked here. I don't think we ever ran out of new things in just 2 episodes before. Maybe that's the power of a non-trashy anime. I say non-trashy because I don't know if I can exactly call it good. It's just fine for now in my opinion. He did find a way of gaining the system by selling his groceries for like 100 times the price that it cost him. I'd say this anime is pretty chill and slow without any big story, which means there isn't much I can talk about. It does work well as an isekai because if it took place in the real world, everyone would react normally to the food and completely kill the mood. So yeah, at least there's a reason for it to be in another world. I also like the self-insert part here because it doesn't feel cringy or too degenerate, but just a cool anime to relax and get hungry while waiting for your instant food to finish heating, cause you know you'll never cook as well as this guy. And despite the initial tropes with the generic isekai setting, there aren't many afterwards. There isn't fan service, no harem, no unnecessary cringe scenes. The characters are decent and it flows nicely. I don't really have anything else to say, so I'll just mark the 6 out of 10 or more space, cause I'm enjoying it. We have one episode left to finish the bingo before we start another anime. In this one, Fel teaches Mukoda how to use magic, but sadly he isn't overpowered at all, which means we don't get that space either. Other than that, he just kept traveling and making food. Wait, slavery mentioned? We need to see the slaves. We need to see the slaves. Where are my slaves? Where are the slaves? But there are no slaves here yet, or any trope from our card as a matter of fact, which means our challenge failed, and we'll have to find another anime to watch. We were 2 spaces away in 3 different lines, but I kind of doubt we would have gotten those even if we continued till the very end. So we're back to our spinny wheel, where my fate will be decided once more. And this time we get... The 12 Kingdoms! I have that on my plan to watch, but no idea what it's about. I only know it's an isekai. I think we can still consider this a crowded cover, even though I've seen some with many more characters. Thankfully it's available on YouTube and I won't have to use my hacking skills to find it on the dark web or something. The main character of this anime, Yoko, couldn't be more different than Kirito. First of all, it's a girl. Yeah, an isekai with a woman protagonist. I shouldn't say that word too often cause I know it scares my subscribers. She's the class president and has strict parents who influenced her to be a goody two-shoes that always tries to be friendly and nice to everyone. But suddenly, a random man just goes talk to her at school and explains how she needs to go to the other world and she's his master and some weird stuff like that. They start getting attacked by some creepy giant birds, resulting in her and the other 2 classmates that got caught up in this mess to all be isekai'd. Say next sentence in case needed. Huh? Oh, okay. It's interesting that for the entire first episode, we don't actually see the isekai once, not even at the end. We just see the main characters falling and we assume they got isekai'd. I also have to admit this is probably the worst start we've ever had in a bingo. The entire first episode and not a single tiny little space for us. It's actually crazy. Personally, I thought it was a bit too random and I didn't find anything to hold on to or get excited about. The characters aren't that likable and we haven't seen anything besides some Pokemon-esque animal fights, but oh well, maybe it gets better. And it does. Kinda. I still thought some parts were a bit confusing and nonsensical, but I was starting to see the potential here. We finally got to see the isekai and it definitely doesn't feel like your typical fantasy world. Maybe one of the reasons comes from the fact that it's an older anime from the early 2000s when this wasn't even considered a proper genre and there were no recurring tropes, which also explains the complete lack of spaces I was getting. This also comes to fulfill a very important role in the isekai spectre with some darker and more mysterious survival aspects. The main characters are basically just thrown there in slightly different places away from each other with no option but to try to survive against a world which believes that all the people who come from the sea, aka isekai people, are bringers of misfortune and should be imprisoned or killed. This automatically made me so much more interested in the anime as a whole, because having such a situation with high stakes, a really good potential to expand the world from the main character's viewpoints, and a generally well-constructed world are some of the things I most value in this kind of stories. By the end of the episode, the main characters did get together and that's when it ends, with them being carried towards their possible execution. The episode starts where we left, and them being attacked by some beasts on the way, leaving an opportunity for them to escape. I do have to say this odd trio is proving to be more interesting than I was initially expecting. I still have quite some problems with the characters, but not that severe anymore. After running away, our heroes try to loot houses and seek for some food. I kinda felt bad for the lady from that house when I saw there was a kid's room there. What kind of monster would steal from a poor single mother like that? Either way, they're actually caught in 4K by that lady, but she surprisingly offers to help and seems quite comprehensible, which, you know, kinda sus, not gonna lie. She offers the trio an opportunity to get a job from another lady she knows in a near town, so they travel there even though the emo tomboy was a bit hesitant at first. Because I'm currently killing my brain to try making this an entertaining video, I'll mark the edgy space because of those dark and witty scenes, the bloody deaths, and the other emo girl that keeps thinking she is the chosen one or some Delulu Chunibyo stuff. At this point, I know I won't get a bingo with this one. It's kinda starting to feel like it's straight up my alley. I really like the everything could go wrong at any moment vibe, which makes everything much more suspenseful. Especially when they go get the job and we find out the lady actually wanted to sell them to a sussy baki waka waka house of doing the recreational mating tango. I'm sorry, I'm writing this at 1 AM. I don't want to go to school tomorrow. I'm tired of working the entire time. I need help. I do think it needs to work a bit better to be less predictable, cause everyone in their right minds could see that this lady was not an angel from the very beginning. Funny enough, they find another old man who had also been isekai'd like them, but that also ended up in backstabbing, which means we had a double crossing this episode. As we all expected though, there is no bingo for anyone. As a last act of honor, I did mark the 6 out of 10 or more space, cause I'll definitely be back to continue, at least for a few more episodes. Well, this means we're going for our third anime in the same video. Yay! And welcome to Demon School, Iruma-kun. So, before anything else, I must tell you this is not my first time watching this episode, because I once reacted to it in one of my member exclusive videos, but I still included it here because I didn't watch anything besides the first one. But even before we were introduced to the main character, or even before the opening song, we already got our first space, Demon Lord. This immediately gave me some hopes to finally achieve a bingo. At least this time it's not being painful, like with the trashy ones. If this gets low views, it will prove that you only watch me for my suffering. Anyways, then we get to know the main character, this 14-year-old boy that unfortunately doesn't look like Kirito. And the way he goes to the isekai is one of the goofiest I've seen, not gonna lie. His parents love him so much that they sent him to do child labor, made him get into dangerous situations, and even decided to sell him to a demon from the demon realm to be his grandkid. I'm not sure about you, but to me that sounds like a tragic backstory. And right after, we also got another space marked, with him going to demon school. Demon school, magic school, same thing. Here we have another space. Let's go. At school, he immediately stands out because his new grandpa is actually the school director, who forced him to chant the forbidden spell in front of everyone, stealing the spotlight of a random powerful guy, which then challenges him for a duel. And that's when I understood that the anime wanted to go full comedy mode, at the expense of maybe not making that much sense or maybe being less realistic and serious. The duel ends in a very silly but fun way, with Iruma winning it, which meant now Asmodeus, the guy who lost, would become his human pet. And that's how the episode ends. Overall, I had fun while watching, but to make up my opinion, I need to see what path the anime takes with this school plot. Time to watch episode 2 and see if we advance a bit in our bingo, cause it's still looking quite empty. The main focus of this episode is the familiar summoning ritual that all the first years engage with. Everyone would get this piece of paper from the teacher, draw some stuff with their blood, and then you spawn a free pet that does everything you want. Since Iruma is a human in disguise, things obviously wouldn't go smoothly. And then this happened. I wasn't expecting this. That's very funny. If you asked me what would happen here before I watched, Iruma getting the teacher as his familiar would have been the last thing I'd imagine. At this point I was considering giving the 6 out of 10 or more space, cause it was getting better with every episode, and the comedy was pretty good compared to my expectations. Unfortunately, something happened. And this is where things went tumbling down for me. This girl, this green-haired she is so annoying. She's literally just a stupid kid. I don't know if this was supposed to be funny or sad, but it doesn't achieve either. It's just an irritating middle ground that honestly made me want to stop watching the anime. What the hell am I watching? Is this high school or a kindergarten? To make it worse, the bingo is just as stagnant as in the last episode. Fortunately, this episode had way less of Clara, the green-haired girl, which automatically made the experience 10 times better. Not only that, but the episode focused on knowing his classmates and having an epic flying race to determine everyone's ranks. Thank God something exciting happening. Sadly, no matter how cool the race is or how many furry characters they add, that's not what this video is about. And speaking of which, guys, I have bad news. we didn't get a single bingo the entire video. We weren't even close. So in the end, we can kinda see that not always, but most times there is a significant correlation between the quality of an isekai and the amount of tropes it has. It's obviously very difficult to not mark any, because at the end of the day, it's still an anime from the same genre, but in general, I think this absence of cliches shows that people prefer genuine and truly unique shows that bring something new to the isekai genre, instead of those who surf a hype trend without adding any creativity to it. And I definitely agree with that. Excluding Iruma-kun, I will most likely continue watching the two others after posting this video. And before we finish it, I want to thank all the members who have been supporting the channel. Thank you so much. And another special thanks for the fan arts you guys made. Goodbye!